welcome to the Improv Summit. I'm your host, as always, Spencer, and with me today I have a very special guest. Now, I got in trouble for saying very special guest for every single guest, so I have to change it up. And I've been doing first name adjective words, and today it's a little bit trickier because this person's first letter of their first name is not the most common letter in the alphabet. And I wouldn't say his personality is zany, but I would say it is Zebratastic Zheryk. How's it going?
I'm doing
I
good. I'm
don't.
doing good.
I
I'm a
literally had a
ref
hard time
sometimes,
with
so
this
I
week.
get the zebra-tastic. It makes sense.
Ah, yeah, that does make sense. Thank you for gracing me in my own really candid joke that I tried to make that fell flat, but you made it not fall flat. So thank you for that. Teamwork, yes, and yeah, all right, great. Improv off to a great start already. Um, enough about me and my big mouth. Let's talk about you. What is your improv experience? What is your experience with
Man, my experience of improv is I really got into it at community college. I was doing stand-up and doing the open mics in Dallas, and didn't really care for it. But my best
improv?
moments were when I got to like riff with the audience or like interact off of a moment, or I remember there was one specific moment where it was just an open mic. It was a Wednesday night open mic. I had been there long enough where I showed up early, and they're like, "Hey, someone didn't show up. You want to go on third?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And then a bachelorette party showed up, and then like the game that I noticed was they're all making fun of this one particular like bachelorette like person in the party because she had pink hair. So instead of going the like, she's a slut, she's a hoe route, like I went a route of like, I'm talking about superheroes, and you're a superhero and I could be your Hulk and I could be your Hawkeye and I'll be
Mm,
your Iron Man. And I got like a really good laugh. So I knew that like improvised moments were probably my strong suit. So I went and seeked that out. I was a theater major, and so I took the improv course there. From there, I met someone who was doing the alternative comedy theater out in Dallas. Shout out to the ACT.
mm,
And they were really like, we do improv, but as comedy, and like we're doing acting, we're doing scene based stuff. So it was unlike anything I had done at the time. But I knew that was like the route for me. So we did short form and long form, and I was one of their go to guys, and kind of felt like, all right, like if I really want to do this, I kind of got to leave Dallas. I feel like a lot of people, the mindset is like, hey, I want to go to LA or New York, right? Because those are like
hmm
the industry cities.
Right.
But for me, I was like, hey, if I go to LA or New York, there's a good chance I just like end up on hard drugs or something. Like, there's like too much going on, if that
Sure.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was like,
yeah. Overwhelm is real.
like definitely. And then I was like, what makes sense to me? Chicago.
Mm,
The second city. It's like at the time I was like the self-proclaimed like student of comedy. I'm sure everyone who's ever performed has like gone through that. The era that I really was like, this is something I can see myself doing, was around the era where it was like, hey, yeah. So like at my days at IO, you'd see like Tina Fey and you'd see like the Amy Poehler. You start seeing people kind of name drop these places in Chicago. My time in Chicago, well, I could have learned everything. Steve Carell, he's like, hey, yeah, everything I learned in Chicago is what got me Michael Scott. So I was hearing Chicago. It made sense. My personal family life, it was kind of poetic
mm,
for me to go to Chicago. And it all kind of turned out. I did long form and short form. I did the whole IO program. Did the Herald team thing for the briefest amount of times. I did the comedy sports Chicago. I also do comedy sports out here. I went through a lot of. I was on the house team over at the Annoyance over there. I've been on some directors team ensembles at the Second City Training Center over there. If it was like a place that did improv in Chicago, I at least like showed my face. You know what I mean?
sure. Oh, yeah.
There's a place called the Crowd. That was just literally somebody in our 5B levels of IO was like, hey, I'm going to make my own space where we just do whatever the fuck we want. And that was like the place where I think everyone just kind of got a chance to be wild. I remember someone knew I was a wrestling fan. So they were
Mm.
like, hey, I'm doing improvised Stone Cold Steve Austin. We're like, and he gave everyone bald caps and like vests. And I was like, no, I have my own Stone Cold shirt. Like, please, like, don't worry about this.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Like I gotta create a hip hop, a long form hip hop comedy improv team where we got to do like scene to song, like traditional music improv, but we had someone that could compose beats. And so we got to keep it hip hop and R&B. And it was like electronic music improv, which I thought was something really cool that no one was really doing at the time around there. I really felt that Chicago was a place for me to kind of tap into what me and my I felt like I had a collective of friends, and my basic motto was like, what dumb ideas can I help you turn into realities, right? And I think from there, it's just been really cool because, the friends that were like, hey, I don't really like this comedy stuff, but there really is something to rapping, and they've made a career of it now. And like,
Mm.
it was one of those things where when the group broke up, we were all like happy for each other because we were all getting kind of called off to different things in our respective worlds. So I just like that was like such a beautiful moment. And, there kind of came a point in Chicago where the writing was kind of on the wall. And I kind of knew for me personally, I was getting to that point where if I didn't go to LA and give it the real shot, I was going to probably start aging, not aging out, but like I knew I needed to get here at that point, if that made sense. So
Oh yeah. I aged out as soon as I grew wrinkles on my forehead. So
that's
I
not true,
that's
man. That's one good thing about being a dude is like
it's so
dumb goofy dad will always be a role.
so true. And I actually submitted for something recently on LA Casting that literally was said, print looking for this character, and it said literally goofy looking dad type. And I was like, this is me.
You finally got there.
Finally made it for the print category. Uh, anyway, what do you love about improv? What keeps you coming back to all these places and continuing to do improv?
um, I mean, it sounds really crazy, but like the places improv has taken me has been like one of the coolest things I think in my life. I it's gonna sound very cliche, but I definitely was one of those people that was like lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. Kind of like a shiftless layabout, for a lack of better phrase.
Yeah.
But once I started doing improv and got plugged into the alternative comedy theater, that was really the first time as an adult I felt like I was part of a community and that my my voice and what I brought to the table was valued, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been able to kind of like chase that. And that's been my favorite thing is I've been able to learn a new way of expressing myself, and I've been able to learn how to work with other people expressing themselves. Improv has introduced me to so many different like people of different cultures, of different backgrounds, of but the one thing I think everyone has in common is there's a level of bravery, right? And so if you're doing improv, you get to see people be brave. That's like
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite things in improv. Like I haven't done everything like I've ever wanted to do. I'm not like one. I mean, I've been doing it for a decade or so, but I'm not one of these like I've
Sure.
been doing it for a decade, brother, type of guys. Like,
Right.
um, it's just like I've worked with kids. I've worked with drunks. I do Comedy Sports LA out here. Back when everything was open, I would be able to do the family friendly shows there, but I would also do Mission Improbable late night
Mm.
short form
Yeah.
for a heavily drinking crowd, and I was able
Very different crowds.
I was very able to switch back and forth with that, and that was something that I thought was like a really cool skill set. Like by doing improv, I've got to meet uh, like the people that like I've like I put a show together and someone's like, hey, give this dude a chance. Like give him like a 10-minute, like give him a 5-minute stand-up slot. Like I promise you, like it's gonna make your show better. And then
Yeah.
like a year later, that dude's on a major show. You know what I mean? And it's just kind
That's
of
awesome.
cool that I get to interact with people. And there's a good chance that like someone I talked to or someone I, went out back and smoked a joint with could be on TV or could be on a show or just could be doing anything. And when I'm able to see that, I'm able to see myself there. And I just think that's really
Mm.
one of the coolest things is like, through improv, you get to connect with people you may not have ever met before. You may be able to show a side of yourself you ever realized that you had. Um, there's like this weird thing. I'm sure you've had it in like auditions or like classes where there's someone I have that really weird connection with, and talking to you outside of improv, none of this makes any sense. I don't even know if
Uh-huh.
I like you first, like per se, but eye contact, oh whatever, oh yeah, like this is about to be a fun scene, and that's a thing that you wouldn't have otherwise, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so interesting how there are people that I not like all people, but like some people that I improvise with that I would never hang out with, and there are people that I hang out with that I would never improvise with. It's like this weird like it's so interesting that you bring that up because it is like that. it's like, and it also speaks to the idea of, improv is truly for everyone, with the accessibility that improv can be for everyone. Um, I mean, there's caveats to that, but in theory, improv should be for everyone. I guess is what I'll say. But with that being said, because there are so many different types of improv, there are going to be people that I don't necessarily mesh with as an improviser because their style of play or their style of improv is not really like the type that I am strong with, or that kind of works. And so it's actually very fascinating how there are so many great improvisers, and you put all the improvisers together, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work as well, but it still works. But that's, I think, speaks to how vast improv is in general. Is kind of going back to what you're saying about, like, there are some people that you can make eye contact with and know it's going to be a great scene, and other people who you're like, I will never connect with you on an improv level, but as a person, I love you.
Yeah. No, and that's like, I used to, when I was like, coaching like at a an independent like place in Chicago, I always kind of told people as I coached them, like, the hardest thing about improv that no one ever teaches, that there's not ever a class of, is it's how to navigate egos, your
Mm,
teammates' egos, your coach's egos, but most importantly, your own ego, right? Uh, and it's just like, that's the most valuable thing. If you can know when it's time to let yourself be the star and when it's time to set someone else up for the softball, uh, you kind of have to know how to do that. And there's like a whole other layer of juggling that's going on behind everything. um,
hmm
so it's like, you can kind of, the view, as someone who's been doing this for so long, you can see, and again, there's a place for all of these things, like these different types of improv. One of my favorite things that I don't get to see it very often. I don't feel like I get to see it very often anymore. But like the 10-year veterans, like, I know there's like a lot of like begrudging of like the 40, like I guess at this point, like the 50-year-old white guys, like improv teams, like the legacy teams. But at
hmm
the same time, like, one of the best things I've ever seen was Beer Shark Mice, and they're like, they fit that category like completely.
like
But
to a T.
it's yeah, but it's like the thing where it's like, you're seeing them do like great character scene work, right?
Yeah.
And they're like relationship stuff, but like, just someone who's done improv, you can tell that there's like that like married couple like bickering behind it, like, and it's really
hmm
fun to see. And I feel like that's the thing that you don't really get to see too often anymore, is like,
That's true.
we've been doing this with the same core group of people for over a decade. um and I just like, I that's the one thing about like moving around so much, is I don't really have that. But I don't know, I always do, like, there's a soft spot for me for like teams that have just been around forever and have that, we've been playing with the same like core people for the last like 10 years or so.
Yeah. And and again, it is like these core groups that have been around for so long, you can tell how well they work together. But then you also have newer improvisers who are just finding their footing. And, at some point, if their trajectory is to become a really good improviser, they could become like the new like legacy team, which is, always great to know that it's like not like this is where it ends.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I
with
think,
improv, it's a constant growth, which is, I think, great too.
yeah. And I want to bring up to your point that like, there's different improv places and different schools of thought. Um, One thing that I feel like, and again, my time in LA, I have a big asterisk on it. We moved here in November of 2018. So, you know, we were here about a year before everything shut down. So
Yeah.
technically, I've lived here longer with everything shut down than I did not. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
I didn't even think
Which
about
is
that.
a
That's
thing that
wild.
I had a realization of a couple months ago, and kind of had a little bit of a breakdown. But that's not
Yeah,
what we're here to
sure.
talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can talk about that later.
But you know, from my experience here so far, and I went through the UCB improv program out here. I haven't really, I went through the program out here and was kind of just like, I'm not going to spend money on improv classes anymore.
hmm
I'm going to start paying for on camera and do the training for the stuff I moved here to do. Like, I've been doing
Right.
improv for a long time. I didn't move across the country to kind of keep doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
my mindset is kind of like, I love improv. I have it there. I'll always be able to go back to it. I know I have that skill set within me or whatever, but like, also kind of move on. And I feel like in Dallas, my experience was people were doing improv as an escape from what I was doing in my day-to-day life. And it was like a lot of folks that really do love improv, but they love their day jobs more and the comfortability of that life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I wanted to do what I wanted to do, that I needed to get out of there. I went to Chicago, and a lot of Chicago is like improv for improv's sake. Like, we love the art of improv, the theater of improv. Like, I am an actor because I do improv. And that's great. It's like, it's a good place to learn and to really hone that. But coming out to LA, it really feels like improv is a stepping stone. I'm taking this improv class because my commercial agent says this will help me out. I'm taking these improv courses. I don't really care about improv. Honestly, I hate doing all of this, but I want it on my resume. And there's like a lot of that. And again, there's really nothing wrong with that either. But just, it was kind of a culture shock going from like, you know, where like we love like improv for the sake of improv. Like, I'm going to put a lot of time and effort to building community, to investing into improv, to coming to LA where I have to go to work after this, man. I can't go grab it. Sure, you know what? I'm gonna grab a drink. I'm gonna, you know what? What's parking like over there? I'm not gonna pay for parking. I'm just gonna go home. Like, there's a lot of like reasons to not. I feel like there's a lot of reasons to not build community here that I've run into, as compared to some of the other places I've done improv. But also, that's, to my knowledge, that's LA, baby. Like, I don't know. And that's not to say I haven't made my friends, and the friends and people I do have here are through improv at some point in time. But in all honesty, like, the people I feel like I'm closest to are the people I met through improv in Dallas, the people I met in improv in Chicago that live out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's this like great wave of now, I mean, I feel like this pandemic thing has gotten everyone a chance to like really think and really process their thoughts and feelings over the last year. And one of the resounding thoughts and feelings that I've gotten from people I've talked to, like from high school friends that don't really do anything performance related that much anymore, to just like whoever, like old people from church that like I don't really keep in touch with, but hey, you know what? I was thinking about you because the song played. Let me reach out to you. Like, those kind of things. And almost everyone has thought about, we've been in this lockdown, whether or not they agreed with it or whatever, is a different story, but it is always, life is too short. Why not go do the things that I actually want to do? And a lot of my friends who were, yeah, man, I'm going to move to Hollywood. I'm going to move to LA at someday. They're like, hey, August is the date. What neighborhood should I look at? You know what I mean? And so I feel like a lot of people are starting to seize that. And I think that's like a piece of advice that I would give to anyone right now is like, just, we've all been taught that there's a certain way that we need to do it, or we have our heroes or our favorites that did it a certain way that we want to follow. But the truth is there's no one right way, and the ways that we were taught are going to be changed next week. Like, when I was going through theater classes, I didn't have to know shit about shooting my own self-tapes, but now I have to know how to do lighting. I have to learn how to edit on a very slight level, and that was not a skill set that was ever taught to most of us. Now people are getting cast off of TikTok, so you know, like, you don't even have to like do anything. You just like, you have 20,000 followers. Here's a commercial. Like, and again, that's the way it's working. Nothing's wrong with that. But like, I'm at the point of like, I'm 33. Do I just say fuck it and get a TikTok? Do I just do that now, or like
do it? I've been doing it.
Or do I mean? I understand the hustle and, you know, whatever trend is, but I feel like you're gonna just. I feel like there's a never-ending wave of like trends to hop on. By the time like, hey, everyone, get on Vine. People are getting pilots off of Vine. Like, by the time that happened, Vine was gone. You know what I mean? Making your own web series on YouTube isn't as viable as it was 7 years ago when our favorites did it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, I still have this desire to make a web series, so I'm gonna go make a web series. Like, and I think that's what you gotta do is, what do you want to do? Give yourself a moment to reflect on that. And then like execute, use improv as your like skill set to help you get there.
That's awesome. I actually was going to say my usual last question on the Improv Summit is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone if they wanted to start their improv journey? But I think you kind of answered it, honestly, in that whole spiel.
Well, if I may for a beginner, I would give someone that's like, I'm thinking about putting my toe into the water into this. Is this? There's more than one school of thought. There's more than one sense of humor. There's more than one way to go about it. If you go to a place and you have a bad experience, don't let that taint your whole stance on improv
Mm-hmm.
or comedy as a whole. There's been plenty of places, and looking back, which really sucks, that there's people that I've known in comedy that I thought were really funny, really talented, that I just stopped seeing around the scene, ran into them, or later on found out that there was someone who a lot of people looked up to who was, taking advantage of their positions and, trying to, or if not actually taking advantage of people. And, that's never good. But it just breaks my heart to see that there's people that I could have swore if they had kept doing it, that they were going to be on SNL, that if they kept doing it, that this character that I've seen them do and it kill every time, that character wasn't going to be on something. Like, there's been so many people that I've seen that had so many great ideas that someone's like, I mean, if I quit every time someone told me I was too loud, too aggressive, too in your face. I'm a big wrestling fan. I do that a lot of my presentation. A lot of my crowd work is basic. The crowd's going to want to count to 10 if you can get them to count to 10. If you have emotion and sound effect, the crowd will want to do it with you. And I take those things and learn into it. And so there's been some schools of thought where, hey man, those are cheap tricks and that cheapens what we're doing. And there's other schools of thought like, hell yeah, that's exactly why we hired you. You know what I mean? So it's just, you have to learn how to find what you do and how to present that. If you're someone who's naturally like a good heartfelt relationship person, because there's so many people that are just really good at the like, no, I'm here in this relationship with you, but they get shut down because they're like, you're not funny enough. You know what I mean? And it just sucks because you just may not have the right coach, you may not have the right school, you may not have the right person. But if you think that you have a skill set or you're good at it, just keep going to different places until you find someone who can help you pull it out. That's my advice for newbies.
Yeah, that's super great. So because we kind of led into that, I'm gonna actually say that my last question for you is: do you have any plugs or pitches that you wanna present?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to plug the Melanated Anime Club. Every Sunday, twitch.tv/Melanated Anime Club. It's me, a couple of my friends from Chicago. One of them is an improviser. One of them is just, I guess he's a performer now, but he was just dating an improviser before he started doing this. But he's one of the homies, and we're three melanated dudes who are just talking about anime every Sunday at 10 Pacific, noon Central. Like Comedy Sports, CSZLA, our online stuff, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus right now, so we'll be back in the fall. And honestly, things are opening back up. I don't know really what's going on, what's happening, but I'll be there. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Zheryk Badugu, like it's spelled over here.
Yeah, make sure you take a look at that. They'll also be in the links down at the bottom.
I'm sure he'll put it in there.
Yeah, I will for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything else. I have a lot of like projects in the works. I was gonna say this earlier. You said that you've been doing TikTok as like a skill
Yeah,
that you've been learning.
trying, but
No, I
doing
get it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to learn how to like make beats and to like create my own beats. I feel like that's been a weak spot for me. And
Awesome.
like, if I could do that, then I can make the projects I want to make. My personal like comedy philosophy is how much of this can I make of my own projects without relying on other people's input? As much as I love collaboration with other people, I want to get my vision as much as I can before I start having other people jump in. If at least for what I'm trying to do with this music project.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
learn
awesome.
another skill. That's a freebie. That's a freebie advice.
100% agree. 100% agree. Learn something that is not related to your profession at all.
Well, like seriously, if you want to be an actor or you want to like do improv through there, you have to be a multi-hyphenate now. So like learn to make really cool cocktails and learn how to record yourself making cool cocktails. Learn how to cook, but learn how to record yourself cooking. Just something adjacent. You'll get a hosting gig out of it. You'll get a travel gig out of it. You'll get something out of it. But learn how to do something and then learn how to do it for the camera.
I agree completely. Well, Zheryk, thanks so much for joining me. But before you go, I said that was the last question I had. And as always on this show, I'm a big old liar. Just like Paul Giamatti, I'm a big fat liar. And I have one more question for you. And that question is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
It's been a while, but yeah, I could do some improv.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. So here is the suggestion.
Okay.
Is the suggestion. Thank you, is.
In order to find enlightenment, one must be truly willing to look inwards upon themselves. The only way you can look inwards is to close your outwards. Yes, my pupil, Danny, you seem to be conflicted. You've seen
I just
something on your insides, haven't you?
I'm just trying to take it all in and then also let it all out. It's quite invigorating.
This, the invigoration is the first step on the 27 steps to enlightenment. Now, I want you to stay with me, Danny.
Yeah.
I want you to keep looking inwards. You said you want to express it out while also taking it all in. What are you
Yes.
seeing? Be an open vessel.
I'm I'm seeing my eyelids, and I'm also seeing the world around me. It's quite an exhilarating experience.
Your eyelids. Let us start there. When you look upon the eyelids, do you see just a shield of darkness, or do you see an intricate and vast valley network of highways of blood vessels, both red and white, flowing freely?
I see an infinity of light
Light.
and hope and peace and anything exciting and fun and rational.
Rational fun. There we find the conflict that lies within. How can one be both rational and fun at the same time? What are you feeling? Because this next feeling may be the second step on the path of enlightenment.
I'm feeling very content with that response. Like I didn't see them as opposites, but
I'm
now I do.
I'm sorry, do you say content or contempt? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Content with an
Oh,
N, with
good.
two N's.
Good. You're in. Yes, there are two ends in content, but they do not touch each other.
Not a double N, just an N and then another N. There's also two T's in there.
Yes, because
Did you know it's actually technically, if you think about it, it's actually a compound word because there's con and tent in it. Content is con and tent put together.
so content means you're with a tent, which means you are safe. That is the third step on the path to enlightenment.
I'm
Safety.
only nine times more to go, and then I'm like there.
Mm. Wisdom. That is a much further step, but I like to see the traces of it being sown now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I this is all just it's kind of overwhelming to be honest. I mean, it's all great. It's just there's just a lot to really take in and soak in and absorb.
Mm.
I feel like a sponge, like just absorbing everything, soaking it all in, and just really piecing together all the holes in everything.
Yes. So I want you to take your sponginess. Now, this is where I, as your leader, need to step up. For you to get to the next step, you must be like a sponge and wring out all of your juice. Please wring out your juices for me. Bring out your juices upon me. I await your juice.
Yeah.
Drip drop, drip drop. Every drip, every drip. Ooh.
Ugh, a little sweaty.
Indeed. Now you have wrung yourself dry. You've let yourself out, and I have something that I have learned through the power of thine juice. Through the power of your juice, I have deduced that you are, in fact, afraid of what is on the inside. But you will realize that there is nothing to fear because you have everything you need, except for the courage to grab it. Do you have the courage to grab it?
Yes.
I need you to reach out and grab it. Grab it. Yes. 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 You have grabbed it. You have gotten to the fourth, fifth, and sixth plane. You have expressed a need. You have gotten the need fulfilled, and you have reached out to a friend. By reaching out, you have reached out to the next platform.
That was really thought provoking. I don't even know what to say.
Then perhaps we sit together in a moment of silence, staring longingly into each other's eyes. Perhaps we can find the answers there. The sky in the morning is the different color than the sky at the night. That is usually darker. Sky in the morning, sky at night. They are very different colors, but they are the same sky.
What song is that?
I don't know. I just kind of like whispered it to me in the wind, and I was just like, the sky is sometimes different colors, and that spoke to me.
It's very beautiful. It's a wonderful piece. Very lovely, actually.
Good. You were lovely. Remember that. That is the next step.
Yeah.
Do you believe you're lovely?
I do. I do. I do. I'm absolutely, positively lovely.
Now say it like you believe it.
I'm absolutely, positively lovely.
Okay, let's turn it down just a little bit.
Sure. I am absolutely, positively lovely.
Ain't that the truth? And scene.
Thanks very much for coming to the Improv Summit. I'm Spencer. That's Zheryk. See you next time. Bye.